everyone. Come on in because we got a lot to talk about for this Ready to Love episode 8. This was Meet the Exes Day, and it was the 6 sexy ladies. What did Tommy call them? 6 sexy ladies, 6 sexy singles, all these S's. We should have added in there a couple of psychos, but I guess I don't start with an S. But it sounds like it. Phonetics wise, it does. 6 sexy ladies with a couple of psychos mixed in between there. And I'm going to tell you, the 2 psychos, of course, are Jeffri and Morgan. We're going to get to them. We are going to get to them. But we're going to go through these dates one by one to tell you what I think about them, to give you a chance to drop down in the comments and tell me what you think about them, because I know there's a lot of thoughts behind this episode. This episode was a juicy. First of all, when it started off, we already got a whining Jeffri deciding she needs extra favors. I tell you, I really couldn't be friends with Jeffri. Jeffri's the type of person where she's a victim all the time. She always needs a special favor. She loves playing the damsel in distress. That's one of her lures for men, to play the damsel in distress. I'm all for getting help, getting accommodation, getting things when you need it. But Jeffri takes things to a whole another level. Like I said, she's fake. And I don't, you know what? Actually, I probably shouldn't even say that Jeffri is fake. This really is who Jeffri is. She's just like one walking a big scam. She's just a walking scam. So I really can't say she's fake, because it really is what she does. She's not acting. This is who Jeffri is. But anyway, when it first came on, this was supposed to be the episode where everybody gets to meet the exes. And of course, we definitely wanted to meet Jeffri's exes. Everyone wanted to meet Jeffri's exes. But of course, we got disappointed because Jeffri did what she knows how to do best. And she tries to put spins on things to make herself look good, make everyone else look bad, and she's the victim. That's why I told you I do not believe her whole story about Blake. I know enough about Blake to know that Blake is an a-hole. Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you think I believe all of Jeffri's story about how things went down with Blake, I don't know how you can still believe in that. When you see how she moves and shakes, how now she's about to talk about these baby daddies, but she don't want them nowhere around to give their testimony. This is what she does. She likes a one-sided testimony, and when you try to speak up, she shuts you down. This is what she did to Blake. This is what she did to DeMario. This is what she's doing to her exes. She likes to tell her version of the story, and if you ever get an opportunity to tell your version of the story, she wants to shut it down. So she goes to a nephew Tommy and says, oh, well, I just want to let you know that I've always been in serious relationships. So there we go. First of all, what she's trying to do is put a spin on her reputation. What she's trying to do is she's setting up to tell you, I'm not a hoe out here. I don't sleep around a lot. So I want to shape this story so you think that I've only been with 2 men in my life. I've only been with 2 men in my life because I'm virtuous. And the 2 men I've only been with are my 2 husbands. That's what she's trying to set up. She's trying to set up a scenario where when she first comes out of her mouth, I've always been in serious relationships. Girl, you had some one-night stands, or you have effed some men that you weren't in a relationship with. I don't believe nothing about Jeffri says. But anyway, let me keep going. So she says, well, you know, my first marriage was of 13 years. And after that marriage ended, he left, and we haven't seen him for 6 years. What? He just left completely? And you haven't even heard from him in 6 years? Okay, Jeffri, I'm going to roll with it. Let's keep going. And the second one was for 3 years, and then I gifted him his first child. She did 2 things. One is she tried to wrap up the fact that she's just had a baby with a man. She got pregnant. Most people say, well, I got pregnant. I had a baby. We had a baby. No, Jeffri puts it and says she gifted him. Gifted? What are you talking about? Gifted him a baby? What, you went to Walmart, picked one up brought it home and wrapped it up and put a gift receipt in it? Gifted? What are you talking about? What, was you a surrogate but you didn't get paid? You gifted a couple a baby because they couldn't have one, so you carried the baby for them but didn't get paid? That's a gift. You didn't gift no man a baby when you the mother of the child. It's not called a gift. And it's a gift, I guess, that he didn't really want because he sure enough walked away from it. And let me tell you something about this. I also don't like how later on she phrases it and says the men walked away from their kids. No, let me tell you, men do walk away from kids. Inevitably, that's what happens. But a lot of times what the men are walking away from are the women. Okay, let's be honest. A lot of times they're walking away from the women, and unfortunately, the children become a casualties of that, and they end up walking away from the kids too. It's a horrible thing. It's deadbeat dads. It's all sorts of things. Sometimes the dads aren't deadbeat, but they can't deal with the woman. There's a whole lot of scenarios, so I don't want to over-classify or try to over-simplify it. But I don't like the notion that you gifted a man, you the hero, you're the virtuous one, you Mother Teresa. You know, she act like she a Mother Mary over here and she a birthed Jesus. I gifted the world of Jesus Christ. Oh my gosh, she loves to put a positive spin on who she is, and there's a negative spin on everyone else. So you mean to tell me you've had 2 significant relationships with, let's go with your story, Jeffrey. So you've only had 2 significant relationships with 2 men because you're virtuous. You don't spread it wide and spread it low and spread it wide. You don't do all that. So you've had 2 serious relationships with 2 men. And the fate of those 2 relationships is they both walked away from you and don't even want to talk to you. So you 0 for 2. You 0 for 2. You would have been better off having other relationships and at least some men that still want to talk to you. And you mean to tell me that these men hate you so much that they don't even want to come around and see their kids? This is not a good story. She's trying to put a good spin on it, but it's no good spin that you can put on it. None. There's a whole lot better stories of fathers who are deadbeat. Well, my father, my child's father doesn't pay child support, but he does come around and take care of the kids. There's a lot of other stories where men are falling down on the jobs of being fathers that doesn't entail trying to put so much distance between her and him. This is a lightning red flag. So she says, I really wouldn't want to bring any man around who's not really of a good caliber around in this process. Well, they don't want to come around. If they don't want to come around you, period, for 6 years, and they don't want to come around your children for 6 years, then actually, Jeffrey, it is not even your choice. You don't have anyone to come around. This is like going for a job and saying, do you have any references? And they say, you tell them, no, I don't have no references. I don't have any previous employers, whether I work for them for 2 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 4 years, that wants to say I was a good employee. No one. No man that I dated for a month and say, you know what, she's a nice lady, but even though it didn't work out for us, I can vouch for her. No one. You've got 0 references. That's a problem, people. Don't overlook this out in the dating world. Don't overlook it. So Tommy says, you're going to still need to sit in front of your connections, Blue and Mark Anthony, and you're still going to need to tell them this story so that they understand the story and that they're not going to get to meet some of your exes, so they're getting cheated. She goes, that's fine, because I know how to spin a story, and I'll definitely spin a story when I get in front of Mark Anthony and when I get in front of Blue. And that's exactly what she tried to do. But let me tell you, Blue wasn't buying it. Blue looked at her and was like, girl, get out of here. I'm not buying this one bit. And Mark Anthony, he's such a sucker for a sob story. I'm done with Mark Anthony, people. Remember, I was rooting for him and Mercedes. I'm not rooting for them anymore. Just let it be known. A Mercedes, pack your bags and get to stepping because he's not worth anything. Because Mark Anthony, he is a sucker for a sad story. Mark Anthony is the type of person, now that I know who he is, he really is attracted to Jeffri. I don't think he's playing games. But what he's attracted to Jeffri is her damsel in distress. What he's attracted to Jeffri is the captain, a save-a-hole. What he's attracted for Jeffri is that he can be the hero in Jeffri's life because Jeffri has a lot of problems in her life. She has a lot of situations where she needs help and is needy. But I'm telling you, behind all this facade of this squeaky baby voice, Jeffri is bossy. Jeffri is bossy, and that's what runs people away. This facade that she puts on, this veneer, this layer in front that we're seeing now is what lures you in. But once you're in and she controls you, it's going to be a different story. But that is what Marc Anthony is attracted to. The woman that Marc Anthony really wants isn't Mercedes. Mercedes is a little bit too independent for him. And what Marc Anthony wants is he wants a woman like Jeffri, who's the real deal. She is needy. She does need to be saved because he likes that position, which is fine. He likes to be the hero in his woman's life, which is fine. But he doesn't want all this baggage that Jeffri has. He don't want all these three kids with 2 missing baby daddies. So is she even getting child support? So he got to come in and pay for 3 kids and be the father figure. And then, I'm going to tell you what else I didn't like about Jeffri's answer. This is why she can't stay consistent, is when they said, are you happy with the fathers not being in the kid's life? And she said, yeah, I'm happy. Bong. No man wants to hear that. No man wants to hear that they're so dispensable that you're happy that they're gone. She would have been better off giving an answer that, you know what, actually no, because I feel bad for my kids. I wish it could have been a different situation. But the way it came out her mouth, yeah, I'm happy that they're gone, also tells you about the real inside of Jeffri, because in the end, all Jeffri cares about is herself. She didn't give one thought to what those kids are like, not having fathers in their life, not having fathers around for 6 years, having been abandoned from kids, having been abandoned from their fathers for their whole life. And when they asked her, are you happy? She said, yeah, I'm happy. How the heck can you be happy with that type of a scenario? How can that bring you happy? She said, yeah, because I'm happy because I'm a woman out here now, not with a lot of baby daddy issues. You may not got baby daddy issues, but you got kid issues, because let me tell you, kids with no fathers, kids whose fathers completely abandon them, there's going to become some issues with that. You think people can just get up and rebound from that with no types of issues? Once again, she's framing everything in the context of herself, trying to make herself look good. So she's trying to put a spin on the fact that she's a woman with 2 kids, 2 men that don't want to have anything to do with her, don't even want to talk to her, so much so that they abandon all the kids as well. And she's trying to put a spin on it and say, well, I'm a woman that's unencumbered. Girl, you over encumbered. What are you talking about? You're not an unencumbered woman. You are over encumbered. And I knew the minute when she was about to get rid of Blue, because in the end, she put Blue on her bottom. But when she put Blue on her bottom, she put Blue on the bottom. When she went to Blue and they were sitting there talking to Blue and Marc Anthony, she says, well, I hope you will forgive me and give me, I don't know what she said, give me grace. So she said something about, I hope you'll forgive me because I'm 100% mommy. And Blue looked at her and said, I don't know that yet. Blue said, I can't promise. And when Blue said, I can't promise, did y'all see the look on Jeffri's face? It went from this to this. And the next thing we know, she's over here voting him off as one of her bottom. Of all the men on the show, she put Blue on the bottom. I mean, geez, wow, Jeffri, that was pretty harsh. You couldn't have picked no other man to put on the bottom. She said Blue's on the bottom, because once Blue rejected her, she was done with him. She was done with him. And that's the same thing that I believe happened with Blake. I believe Blake absolutely fell into being attracted to Jeffri because Blake likes a soft woman in which he could be the leader, in which this woman portrays that she's going to bow down to Blake, and Blake was attracted to that. But once he got in there, Blake, the investigator, the loss prevention, whatever you want to call him, investigator, the one to ask a bunch of questions, he got in there and was asking Jeffri a bunch of questions and drilling her over her past and her whole situation. Sure, he was being hypocritical. He got 3 baby daddies, but so what? He was throwing it back on her, and she couldn't take those questions because we know behind closed doors, her life is a mess. It's chaotic. She didn't like it. And she and Jeffri, and then she and Blake were butting heads. And Blake started probably calling her names and calling her out on some of her bullshit. And then that's when she came up the story, well, I'm going to get him first before he gets me. Because let me tell you, when she went into that deliberation room and she threw Blue under the bus that fast, that was another scenario where she said, let me throw Blue under this bus before he comes back and tells people about this date we had. Because I know he didn't buy any of my BS about these two baby daddies that have been missing for 6 years. I'm telling you, Jeffri cuts off the throats of men before they have a chance to get her. When you start peeping out her story, she's ready to off you. Off you. She's something else. She cold-hearted. Let me tell you, Jeffri is a cold-hearted. Then the next date that Jeffri had was the date with Jeffri and Andre. Ugh. Andre is a mess, and we're going to talk about that date over there with Cynthia as well. But Andre is another person that's a mess. He is a mess, and I see why he likes Jeffri, because he likes his ego stroke. Remember, he was mad at Mercedes because Mercedes wasn't blowing up his phone while he was at home with COVID, supposedly off the show. And so he definitely likes a lot of ego stroking. That's probably why he wears this thing on his head, so people will notice him in a big crowd all the time. But you know what? I don't like Andre. I don't like Andre either. I don't like his attitude. I don't like too much about Andre as well. And let me tell you, this little date between the two of them was hard to watch, y'all. It was hard to watch this scenario go on. So anyway, he decides he's going to cook Jeffri a home cooked meal, some jerk chicken, some rice. And Jeffri says, oh, this is restaurant quality. This girl, let me tell you, she's a professional. I keep telling you, she's a professional. But let me tell you, a lot of women, don't be Jeffri all the way, because I'm telling you, she's borderline psycho. But if you're out here, you could take a few points from Jeffri. Now, the one thing Jeffri did different than Jonique did when she was at Blue's house was Jeffri said, oh, this is wonderful. This is a restaurant quality. Jonique was over there telling Blue, your salmon is a 7 and your broccoli is a 3. Big difference, a big difference. I'm telling you, you catch more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Jonique was serving vinegar and Jeffri is serving a honey. Let me tell you, in the end, you may not want the fella, but you definitely want to draw them onto you. And what Jeffri did was saying, this is restaurant quality. That's what every woman needs. This is good and delicious. It don't mean you need to have another meal with them. And then what she does is feed me like a baby. You know, I can't open my mouth that wide. Girl, you know your mouth has been open wider for other things. You know your mouth has been open wider for other things, and talking about you can barely put a fork full in your mouth like you a baby. Dude, you mean to tell me you want him to get a chopstick? Is that what you want? You want him to feed you with some chopsticks? This girl's a mess. I can't even see how any man out in the real world would fall for this. That's why I lost respect for Mark Anthony. If you are falling for this Jeffri facade, I'm telling you, I lose a lot of respect for you. I really lose a lot of respect, because I'm like, this is such a facade. This is a mess. She's like, oh, that's still too big of a bite. It needs to be smaller. I'm so dainty. I'm so pristine. All this is the image, people. This is the whole image. I'm pristine. I'm dainty. I can barely open up my mouth. I'm a baby. I need you to take care of me. I need you to protect, provide, and lead. Woo! This is something else. When I look at you, I just see a strong, a powerful man, and he is over there eating it up. He is eating up the words. He is eating it up. She's like, when I look at you, I already trust you. You're just so trustworthy. It just oozes from you. And then he pulls her closer and he tries to kiss her. And at first, she don't even want to open her mouth. Remember, she don't want to open up her mouth too wide. She barely can get a rice in it. Rice. And the next thing you know, they all kissing and all the lipstick is all over Andre's mouth, looking like, Boo Boo the Clown. People, I was rolling and laughing at this scene. I don't know. I guess it was supposed to be romantic and sweet and endearing, and it wasn't. It was funny as heck to me. It was funny as heck, because I was like, Jeffri can act her butt off. I don't know what she do for a living. She's an executive assistant. No, she needs to become a full-time paid actress. Full-time paid actress. Jeffri absolutely needs to get a man, and she needs to sign up for a reality TV show, because she would be good for a reality TV show, because there will be a lot of people who would tune in just to not like her. I would tune in every single week to watch Jeffri, just not to like her, and laugh at all the people who fall for her traps and her antics. I'd be cracking up. And she caps it off and said, let's make a toast to one of the most amazing men in town, in Miami, in the world. Let's make a toast to him. Woo! What a couple of dates from Miss Jeffri. She delivered on some comedy for the day. Now we're going to move on to Morgan's date with Junior. I hear Morgan and Jeffri are really good friends. It makes sense because they both cycle. They probably both exchange notes. Remember I told you guys last couple of weeks ago that Morgan's the type of person where Tony's going to do something to make Morgan bust out his windows in his car, or stab his tires and give him flats, or pour some hot grits on him. Remember I told you that? Well, people, I was wrong. It wasn't no grits. It wasn't no busting out a window. It wasn't no flattening of the tires. It was a nair in the hair. It's a lot worse than I thought, because that nair could have dripped down in that man's eyes and blinded him. Woo! We got two cycles on our hand, people. She put nair in this man's hair. And remember I told you that the two Bible thumping people between Morgan and Tony, I said, where are they in the Bible? Because I don't see no scriptures over here with Morgan and Tony. The scriptures have gone out the window. What Bible are they reading? I said, oh yeah, they must be in the Bible of the Old Testament, where there's a lot of carnage and death and killing that they weren't in the New Testament. Well, I was right about that. They're definitely in the Old Testament. Morgan is definitely in the Old Testament. Like she said, vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine, not vengeance is the Lord's. Vengeance is mine. And then she's in the Old Testament. She's over there in the book of, God, let me bring out my Bible days. What book is the Delilah, Samson and Delilah story? In Book of Judges? Is it Judges? I think it's Judges. All you Bible reading people, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The book of Judges, she over here in the book of Judges, cutting off and destroying a man's hair. Delilah. Whoa, I knew several episodes ago that this Morgan woman was crazy. And let me tell you, a full proof, she is certified a crazy. Like I told Tommy, 4 sexy ladies in 2 cycles. That's what we got. And Morgan, she loves people to chase her. We have seen on this episode where she's told Tony, Tony, you need to chase me. We told her, she pinned up Anthony, told Anthony needs to chase me. That's Morgan's thing. Morgan likes to hunt and she likes to be hunted. You know, this is all a big game of, I'm telling you, Morgan probably has some S&M sex. Morgan be doing some stuff. But Morgan likes men to chase her. And even when she was on this date with Lyndon and Tony, instead of focusing on Lyndon and Tony, Morgan even roped in her ex Junior and said, tell me why you like me. Even when Junior showed up to so-called vet the new man, she was still interested in hearing of why a Junior liked her and why a Junior wanted to chase her. Tony tends to think that Morgan still has something for Junior. That ain't it, Tony. Morgan just likes to hear and likes to feel the hot breath of a man hunting her down on her neck. That's what she gets high off of. She loves it. She loves the chase, even when she doesn't want you. This is why when she said she didn't really want nothing serious with this guy, Junior, but next thing you know, she's putting nair in his hair because she thinks he's cheating on her, because he turned his attention away from her to another woman, to chase another woman, and she got mad at that. That's why I said she doesn't want you. She just wants you to chase her. And so when he started chasing another woman, she was like, oh, I heck to the note. I don't feel your hot breath on my neck anymore. So you going to get the nair. Morgan loves to be chased. I'm telling you, Morgan got problems. Morgan need to go see a therapist. Morgan really does need to see a therapist, because I'm telling you, this is borderline a cycle. No man needs to get involved with Morgan. And on the next episode, we did see a clip where Lyndon, I think he got a little fear in his eyes. He said he may need to step away from Morgan. We didn't get to see the whole thing, but something goes down next week where Lyndon casual, a carefree, a chilling Lyndon gets scared, and he starts being like the man in Get Out, talking about get out. Get out. You are in the sunken place. Morgan's dangerous. But Tony about to walk away from Morgan. Tony is not about this. Tony is peeping her out. He's saying he don't like any of this. He playing the game now, and he's just dealing with Morgan to be dealing with Morgan. But Tony already know what he's dealing with, because Tony's like, I'm supposed to be the tiger over here. I'm supposed to be the one playing these games. I'm supposed to be the one playing games on women. And Morgan over here playing games on everyone. And Tony's like, Tony not going to go for this. Tony is going to be up and out of here. I don't know what he's do. I don't know if he's going to switch over to Marcia. I really don't know what he's going to do. But even if he and Morgan make it to the end, it ain't going to last. This ain't going to last out in the real world. Absolutely not. Tony talk a good game. He talk about, like he's always jealous of things. And, he got the hunt on. I ain't worried about this man. I don't know. He seemed pressed to me. He seemed oppressed to me. Like I said, we thought Tony was the tiger. The tiger is Morgan. Morgan is no match for Tony. Morgan, let me tell you, Morgan is no match for Tony. Tony can't handle Morgan, let alone can Morgan handle Tony. Tony can't handle Morgan. He needs to let that tiger go. At the end of that little date, Morgan was like, I didn't like the way that Tony handled the date. She was like, Lyndon, Lyndon is coming up strong. And she said Tony was a red flag the way he handled the date. Tony's a red flag. You just told us a story where you put Nair on a man's head and could have blinded him for life. And Tony's the red flag. I know why Jeffri and Morgan are best friends, because they both know how to spin a story and try to make it seem like the other person is with the red flags. The other person got the problem, and they the biggest red flag around. They not only a red flag, they a red siren, they a stop sign, they're a red flag. They are, you seeing red when you see them. Ridiculous. I can't believe these two women are out here in the streets walking around dating people. They need a warning sign posted on them. They need to come with a warning sign and a disclaimer. And now we're moving on to Cynthia and her man. What was her man's name? What was that man? James or something? Another one that needs to come with a warning and disclaimer. Oh, good Lord. That man was off the chain. Now I understand where Cynthia's coming in. Remember when Cynthia came in, she said she was tired. And now we know why she's so tired. Tired of dealing with this man. I don't know if they were ever married, but dealing with him as the father of her children, she is absolutely tired. She's absolutely tired. And I can also see why she said she wants to really be able to rest in her femininity, because she's tired. She's tired of doing everything. Because this man, James, is the type of man that makes the masculine side of a woman come out, because he runs over people. And then you start to feel like, I can't even be soft. I can't even be feminine. I can't even relax, because I know this man will come in and run all over me. So I've got to buck up all the time to protect myself. This is the kind of man that people need to stay away. Women, if you ever feel the need to buck up all the time against a man, don't get involved. Walk away. Walk away. Because although you may be able to do it here and there, one time here, two times here, you're not going to want a lifetime of it. You're not going to want a lifetime of it. And this man, James, is hell on wheels. Not only does he challenge everything that Andre said and everything that, who else was at the table, that Anthony was saying, he's just antagonistic. He's argumentative. You could tell he's this way even with Cynthia. It's his persona. That's why I tell women always talk around or walking around talking about what kind of man they want. I want an alpha male. I want this. I want that. Stop using those phrases once and for all. But stay away from men who don't respect other people's opinions, period. Even if you feel he's not doing it to you, when you see a man like James, the way he has conversations with other people, the way he runs over them, the way he badgers them, the way he pins them in the corner, stay away from them. Because even if they're not doing it to you in that moment or that moment right then and there, he will turn that venom on you. And the next thing you know, you will be the object of all that hate and heat and arguing and stuff. Stay away from it. He is a walking a red flag too. As soon as Anthony walked up in there, he threw him some shade. He was like, what do you call him? Who's this man coming here with this shag? Woo! And like I tell you, you could already tell these personalities weren't going to get along at this little dinner table, because what we know about Andre is Andre needs his ego stroked continuously. And this man was absolutely not going to be giving Andre any compliments. It's going to be the complete opposites. He was going to dig in Andre, and Andre couldn't handle it. And all Andre could talk about was he was in Forbes magazine for business, because he runs a multi-million-dollar businesses. I'm in Forbes magazine. I'm in Forbes magazine. And that man was like, what? Who cares? I'm asking you about your flings. I really can't take up for either of these men. I really can't, because Jerome, Jason, whatever his name is, I don't know what his name was, James, he was a mess, and Andre was a mess. So I didn't pick any dog in this fight at all. I was happy watching them both go at it. Two pit bulls who's going to fight to the death. And finally, Andre got out from the table and says, I'm out of here. I'm not putting up with this stuff. And then Jerome, Jason, James, whatever his name, started punking him, talking about, look at him. He can't take it. He can't take it. See, this is what this guy would do to you if you were in a relationship with him and you started walking away. He would start talking behind your neck, talking about, look at you. You can't take it. See, you wrong. You wrong. He would start mocking you behind your head. We know who he is. Women, review this tape on this man and stay away from people like him. Stay away from him. He need to come with a warning sign and a disclaimer as well. Cynthia, you did right. Get away from him. I'm sorry, girl. You had 2 kids with him. You're going to have to deal with him for the rest of your life. But he going to scare all your men away. You better not introduce him to none of your boyfriends. None. Absolutely not. You'd be better off doing like Jeffri, saying, I don't know where he is. We ain't seen him for 6 years. Cynthia, get Jeffri's story. Go over there, talk to Jeffri, say, what story can I come up with? And say, we don't know where he is. We ain't seen him in 6 years. Woo! It was a mess, y'all. It was a mess. But Anthony handled him like a champ. Because what Anthony does is, when you come up across a person like a James, John, whatever his name is, when you come up against a person like that, the last thing you want to do is buck up with them. And that's the same thing I talk about women. When you see a man that likes to buck up, don't buck up. Turn around and walk away, diffuse the situation and walk away. And that's what Anthony does. That's why I said in the beginning, I thought Anthony and Cynthia would have made a good match, because Anthony's not the type of person that's going to make that masculine side of any woman want to come out. Anthony is the type of person where he's going to diffuse situations and he's not going to pour a gasoline on them. And you see the way that Anthony handled this man. Anthony says, that's fine if you don't trust me, because you shouldn't trust me. Right there. That's how you disarm a person. You don't fight with them, argue with them. You go, you know what? You got a point. You got a good point. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. That's what you do. Call me if you need anything. You know, Anthony probably going to give that man a wrong telephone number. He going to give him his burner phone number. He ain't giving him the real cell phone number. He going to give him the cell phone number that he don't check the voicemails except every 2 weeks. It's a burner phone. Anthony don't want to have nothing to do with that James or John. That's why he said, after this, I'm going to have a conversation with Cynthia, because I ain't going to be dealing with that damn man if I'm going to be in a relationship with Cynthia. He said, I'm going to have to talk to Cynthia and say, you know what, can you keep him in check? Because if you can't keep him in check, I'm not going to deal with you, because I'm not going to be dealing with this man. That's what Anthony said when he said, I'm going to talk to Cynthia. I'm not going to be dealing with this man. And if you can't keep him in check, we're not going to have no relationship. We will not have a relationship. So poor Cynthia. Cynthia thinks she's going to be able to rest in her femininity. No, she ain't. Because she always going to have to be in her masculine to handle this man over here. Unless she come up with Jeffri's story. Maybe she come up with Jeffri's story. Say, I don't know. He been missing for 6 years. Woo, poor Cynthia. I don't know. Poor Cynthia. Most of the time people get rid of you because you the red flag. But now, Cynthia, you're right, Cynthia. He gonna scare off all your men because he is the red flag. But I guess he's looking out for his kids. That's the positive spin we could put on it. We could say that he was being this tough on these men because he's looking out for his kids. I don't believe it. I think it's who he is, period. And yeah, that may be a thought of his, but it's also just who he is. He says he was doing it because he's the one that messed over Cynthia, and Cynthia was innocent. But I came into the relationship with Cynthia and ran over her like a freight train. So now I don't want no other woman to run over her like a freight train. How's the abuser going to become your protector? I don't believe it. I don't believe the story. I don't believe that your abuser can turn into your protector. I don't believe it. And now we're going to move on to Mercedes. A date. Her date was Armand. And she was going to be meeting with Mark Anthony and also with Anthony. And Mark Anthony's not interested in Mercedes. When I did that video a couple of weeks ago, comparing the kisses, I'm telling you then I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, Mercedes, you need to look out for Mark Anthony. I'm not for sure. The fact that Mark Anthony was always hugged up on Jeffri. And then this little date where he got to meet the ex, I'm pretty sure that Mark Anthony's not really interested in Mercedes. He kissed her, but she leaned into that kiss. She kind of was more the assertive one. And then when he left from the date, he basically said, bye, Mercedes. He didn't hug her. When he leaves Jeffri, he's giving her hugs, rubbing all on her waist. When he leaves Mercedes, he's like, bye. Mercedes over here trying to be a pilot. He wants to be a pilot. Mercedes is thinking this bonds them together because they both have a passion for the same thing. No, it doesn't. Because what Mark Anthony is, like I said earlier, he wants to be the hero. He wants more of a woman that looks at him as the hero. So he wants to be the pilot. Mercedes would have been better off saying, oh, yeah, you could be the pilot and I'll be your flight attendant. But the minute she started talking about she wants to be the pilot too, that's not the role Mark Anthony wants. Mark Anthony wants a more demure, soft woman, the one he can be the hero in her life. That's why he's attracted to these sad stories of Jeffri. That's why Jeffri piles on the sad stories to Mark Anthony, because Jeffri is good at reading people. And she knew that Mark Anthony was a sucker for sad stories. That's why she told him the story about her Crohn's disease, and now the story about the baby daddies. She hones in on what men's weaknesses are, and she implants herself there, and she does it with Andre. And so Mark Anthony's not interested in Mercedes. Sorry to say it. I don't know if they'll make it towards the end or what, but because we pretty much looks like Jeffri and Andre are going to be the couple. And maybe Mark Anthony will switch over to Mercedes, but I don't believe it'll work out because I don't really believe that Mark Anthony really likes Mercedes like that. Mercedes is a little bit too smart, too independent, not enough victim. Mercedes needs more victim stuff going on. She needs more a trauma in her life. She needs something where Mark Anthony can swoop in and save her, and she's not showing none of that. So he's not going to be attracted to her. Like I said, when he left the date, he was like, bye, Mercedes. Tapped her on the shoulder, bye. No hug, nothing. No hug, no kiss, nothing. He doesn't feel like he needs to protect Mercedes, and Mark Anthony needs that. But it didn't matter because Armand didn't like Mark Anthony anyway. Armand, the ex, didn't like Mark Anthony. He liked Anthony more. And said, Anthony knows what he wants. He's ready to settle down. He's thought it out. Anthony told everybody he was organized. He's thoughtful. He's meticulous. Anthony already told people, I think. I don't just run around and act off emotion. I think. I'm very organized, meticulous. I have a routine I follow. Anthony says, Mercedes is like his yin to his yang, where they're not actually the same, but I guess he's trying to say that they would complement each other's lives because he is more structured and maybe she's a little bit more fun, and maybe they could blend the two. I don't know. I don't really think they make a good couple. I like them both individually, but I don't necessarily believe that they would make a good couple. I don't think so. And I don't even think Mercedes was really interested in Anthony that way. I think she was more interested in Anthony once she saw this date and she saw how bad Mark Anthony fell down. Because when Mark Anthony started talking about himself, talking about, I don't care about nobody but myself, and I only need to be good for myself, Mercedes was over there looking like this. Ugh, what a horrible answer. Mercedes was over there looking like, oh, his answer is horrible. He's selfish, because she had already been feeling it. She already could tell that Mark Anthony was doing no real heavy pursuit of her. And so when she heard that come out Mark Anthony's mouth, that I need to only be a good enough for myself and not good enough for nobody else, Mercedes was like, ugh. She ain't, even Mercedes might not be interested in Mark Anthony anymore. He cute and everything. He probably getting handsome privilege. You know how you put up with stuff for men because they handsome. You put up with stuff for women because they pretty. That's what Mark Anthony is getting by on. Because honestly, I really haven't seen too much Mark Anthony's bringing to the table. I don't know. He ain't really charming no women. And the only reason he stuck to the side of Jeffri the way he is because he's addicted to saving women. He want to be a Captain Save-A-Hoe. That's it. So really, he getting something out the deal with Jeffri. That's what he's doing. He's over there to get something, to feed his ego. But he ain't over here really doing too much for anybody. Mercedes, move on, girl. Your man ain't on the show. Your man ain't on the show. I like you, Mercedes, but your man ain't here. You're going to have to keep on looking out there in the Miami streets. Sorry. When Armand asked Anthony and Mark Anthony, what are your negatives? And Mark Anthony said, well, I can be stubborn and hard-headed. Basically, I do what I want to do, when I want to do, how I want to do it. We already know that. That's what I said. Mark Anthony ain't thinking about nobody else but himself. No one but himself. That's why he ain't gonna be no stepdaddy to Jeffri's kids. Please. Like he just told you, I do stuff for me. I ain't doing stuff for me, you, and your 3 kids. That ain't going nowhere. Mark Anthony said, I can be stubborn and hard-headed, basically, and selfish. We might as well add that to it, Mark Anthony. And Anthony said, you know what, I can be a little bit too cautious and not open up enough and really take risks. There you go. This is why Anthony has been so cautious with women. And women keep saying, hey, I need you to jump off the diving board. I need you to go full throttle. I need you to do this. But Anthony's telling you, I'm cautious. I take my time. I think about it. I trust a man that thinks more, though, than I trust a man that just acts off emotion. I like a thinker because that means they thought it out. They've already thought about their pros and their cons. So when they do choose you, you know it's just not a whim. You just know they just not following some little running through their small head down below. They working with this big head up top. I like a man that thinks. That's more solid. That's what Anthony tries to say. I don't just chase women to chase women. I think about stuff. And that's what I like about Anthony. So, you know, hey, I don't know, maybe Anthony and Mercedes will get together because I do think that Anthony likes Mercedes. I think that of all the women, I think Mercedes is one of the women that he likes. I think he's starting to get turned off with Cynthia, with the whole thing, with the toxic daddy, because I know for sure Anthony don't want no toxic men in his life, period. None. Talking about toxic, then we move on to Sue-Ann and Blake. Woo, this Blake is a piece of work. Blake is a piece of work. Oh my goodness. Sue-Ann don't like Blake either. This is all game playing. So I don't know why people are mad at Blake for staying on the show. All these people are playing games. I really don't think that you can be kicking off Blake because Blake is playing games, which he is, because he doesn't really like Sue-Ann that much like that. Sue-Ann knows that Blake is not a fit for her. Because what Sue-Ann said on this episode was that after her friend, what was her friend's name? Paul, sat down and talked to her. Paul actually said that he felt Anthony would be a better fit for Sue-Ann because Anthony would let her have the spotlight and be in the forefront. And Sue-Ann said, I know, and I like that because I like to be in the forefront. Because Sue-Ann is smart. She's a high-powered attorney running around driving in a Maserati on TV, high-profile cases. She definitely is in the forefront. And let me tell you, there's no way a man like Blake would let her be in the forefront. He would give her a hard time. He would give her a hard time because she wouldn't be running up behind no Blake because she got all her own fame, stardom, and everything else herself. And Blake, he couldn't handle that. Blake couldn't handle that with Sue-Ann. So they're not going anywhere. So this idea that Blake needs to be off because he's playing a game, Sue-Ann is playing a game, Mark Anthony's playing a game. There's a whole lot of people on this show playing a game, and that's not really interested in any of these people. Okay, anymore. So I don't think you can just be kicking off Blake because he's playing the game better than anyone else or because the producers like him. Too bad. Too bad. He still got a woman vouching for him. He still got a woman going hard and saying he's my number one. So as long as you got someone saying you're their number one, you should stay. That's how I feel. If you don't have anyone saying you their number one, then maybe you should go. Because right now, the people that aren't number ones are Marcia's not a number one and Blue's not a number one for anyone. That's why Blue ended up going home. We're going to talk about that. But hey, Blake is somebody's number one. As much as you don't like him, he's still somebody's number one. So I don't think he should be kicked off either. But Blake over here talking about he was glad Anthony was coming on a date because Anthony can add some comedic value. Like Anthony is his wingman. That's like saying, yeah, I'm going on this date and I'm going to bring my good friend so he can add some little flavor to the date, because we know Blake has no flavor. He has no comedy. He has no fun conversation. So he says, I hope Anthony does come because he can be some my wingman and add some comedy to the conversation, because I've got none of that to serve up. All I've got are questions and interrogations. Woo! I know why Blake has 3 baby mamas, because he's the same thing as Jeffri. This is why he and Jeffri didn't get along. If you think about Jeffri and Blake, they really are the same people. Blake has 3 baby mamas because none of them women wanted to stay with Blake. We keep thinking Blake left all these women, but probably what it is these women left Blake. That's why he's got 3 baby mamas. The same way Jeffri's got 2 baby daddies that don't want to talk to her because they're done with her. Blake has 3 baby mamas because they didn't want to talk to him. Blake and Jeffri are the same people, and that's why they butted heads. They both try to present real well. Blake tries to present like he's this strong figure going to take care of you, and all he is going to end up being an abuser of you. And then Jeffri's the same way. She tries to act like she's a demure, sweet woman, and then once in the relationship, she's going to abuse you. Jeffri going to abuse some people. They're the same people. This is why they didn't get along. And this is why when they started pairing up, they started going at it like cats and dogs. I should say 2 cats, because they were scratching each other's eyes out. But Anthony's like, I'm the oldest of 10 kids, so I know how to get along. That's another thing I like. I like people coming from big families, because you know what? You need to learn how to get along. You learn that everything's not about you, because mama can't be cooking you your favorite meal because she got 10 kids. 10 kids. I'm married to an only child. He think everything should be about him sometimes. I said, oh boy, no, not at all. I like people who come from big families. They know how to get along. They know how to compromise. They know how to not always make everything for themselves. They know how to sacrifice. I like people who come from big families. That's what I said. Anthony's my number 1 pick on this show. Anthony is my number 1 pick on this show. Just like all these other women were talking about, get in line for Anthony. Get in line. He did have on them fuzzy slippers last week, but I'm going to give him a pass on that. I'm going to give him a pass on them fuzzy slippers and that little doormat he had at the door. I don't know. Find out a little bit more about Anthony, ladies. Dig a little bit deeper, though. But do dig a little bit deeper. But Blake was over here talking about, well, if family is important to you, then I'm going to need to dig into your family. He always trying to do an investigation on people. He is always trying to write up a report and do an investigation. He said, well, if family is really important, I need to dig into your family. Well, let me dig into your family. You're the one with 3 baby mamas. Let's dig into your family. It sure is something that a person with the biggest dings on their credit report is the one over here talking about, I want somebody with an 800 FICO score. He over here talking about digging into a family, and his family is all fractured. You got an entire fractured family. When you got 3 kids by 3 different baby mamas, your family is fractured. But you want to dig and critique my family? He's a mess. Absolutely. He ain't fit for no one. Not Sue-Ann and not anyone. I know Sue-Ann's smarter than this. Sue-Ann has interviewed enough crooks, enough con artists, enough people that by now she's seen through Blake. Sue-Ann playing the game too. She playing the game. She knows who this man is. There is no way that she is this dumb out here. I don't believe it anymore. Sue-Ann is too smart for this. She knows what's going on. She's just playing the game as to stay on the show. She acting just like how you defend a client that's guilty, but you the defense, and so you got to defend them no matter what. Every person's what's the law? Every person is entitled to a strong defense. That's what Sue-Ann is doing to Blake. It doesn't matter if you're guilty. It doesn't matter if you did it. Every person in America is entitled to a strong defense, a guilty until proven innocent, and that's what Sue-Ann is doing with Blake. I'm defending him, but I know he's guilty. I know he did it. But I'm defending him because that's what I do. I know how to get people off. Woo! And that's what she's doing. Like, I'm getting Blake off. And let me tell you, Jeffri over here thought that she was saying something bad about Sue when she was calling her advocate Sue. This shows you how maybe dumb Jeffri is. She was really actually giving Sue a compliment, because what Sue-Ann has been able to do is Sue-Ann has been able to, her client came into a court where at first everyone was trying to sentence him and throw the key away. And what Sue-Ann has been able to do is defend him so eloquently, so graciously, so wonderfully, that this man is about to get off completely. He's almost like OJ. He's about to walk away a clean and scot-free. So when Jeffri over here saying advocate Sue, you know what? If you need a defense, you better call Sue Ann, because Sue Ann has been able to save Blake through this whole episode. He's about to walk out this courtroom a scot-free, and that's the kind of defense attorney you need. Advocate Sue, what's your hourly rate? Because you have done a phenomenal job at keeping Blake on this show, which tells me your skills as a defense attorney are stellar. And the last date we had was with Marcia, and her ex was Mark. And let me tell you, this surprised me. I really didn't think that this would be somebody Marcia would go out with. It was interesting to see who these people go out with. I really didn't see any of these people with these men. The only one I could see was Sue Ann with her guy Paul. He seems a lot older than she is, but I could see them kind of together. But everyone else, I was like, I don't get it. But Marcia, I really didn't get her being with this guy. But I think he just probably, I don't know. I'm not going to say nothing. People, I ain't going to say nothing. Let me keep my mouth shut. But anyway, by the time Tony got over here with Marcia, the guy was like, what do you like about Marcia? And Tony was like, I think she's smart. She's intelligent. She's beautiful. Marcia going to be the safe choice for Tony. Tony the Tiger is running scared over Morgan. I think Tony's going to switch over to Marcia. I think Tony is going to switch over to Marcia because he already knows that Morgan is psycho, and Tony don't want to have nothing to do with that. When any man hears you put nair on another man's head, what man would want to be with you? Tony's like, I like my hair. Tony's like, ain't no way. Tony is not going to be dealing with no Morgan. I don't think they're going to make it to the end. I think he's going to switch over to Marcia, if anything. And she better hope so, because if not, she's going to be the next one going home, because right now she wasn't at the first for anyone. And now that Blue went away, I guess the only one left is Anthony. But Blue was never interested in Marcia. Blue stopped being interested in Marcia way back on that one-on-one date when she told him, I don't like to do nothing outdoors. Blue wasn't interested in any women on here. They want to know why Blue was rolling the way he does. First of all, I think he is sort of a slow mover. I think he's kind of like Anthony. He likes to think. I like Blue, but he was definitely not into Marcia ever since she said she don't like to do anything outdoors. Blue was like, you're not the one for me. So she's over here giving Blue a hard time, but Blue's like, I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver. You're not my number one. You're my number two, and I'm not going to lie to you. Blue kept trying to tell her, but Marcia didn't like it. Marcia didn't like it. So I think at this point, I think her best bet is going to be for Tony to move her in the number one position and slide Morgan down to number two, because Morgan's crazy. But she's talking about she likes a Tony because he's an alpha male. He's a leader, blah, 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 blah. Okay, wait till you get into a relationship with him. Wait till you get into a relationship with him and see how much you like it then, Marcia. But anyway, that was it for all the dates. And then they moved on into the deliberation room. And like I've been saying the whole time through this recap review, we know that Blue went home. Blue was the one to go home. Blake was on the bottom, but Blake was saved once again by Advocate Sue, best defense attorney around town. You talk about defending a client through multiple trials, multiple cases, multiple charges. She has gotten him off on all of them. This is like a courtroom where the family and everybody else is in the audience mad and screaming, and the defendant Blake is walking off the courtroom with the attorney scot-free. And then he gonna come back and sue the state for a defamation of character. Advocate Sue, I'm telling you, she about to get a civil judgment against the state for Blake. Blake wasn't too concerned. Blake said, I've been on the bottom before. He wasn't concerned that he was going home. Blue, on the other hand, thought he was safe. Blue went home, and Blake was like, I'm not concerned. I have the best defense attorney in town. I know I ain't going home. I'm not going to jail. Woo, but that's it, y'all. That's the end. Please let me know what you thought of my thoughts and my review, my recap. Tell me what you think about all these dates. How's all this going to turn out? That's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.